On August 7, 2025, the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, under the leadership of Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr., made an announcement that sent shockwaves through the medical and scientific communities. In a move that few anticipated, the department revealed a sweeping and highly controversial change in the nation's public health strategy, signaling a dramatic departure from previous policies that had shaped the country's pandemic response for years. Secretary Kennedy declared the immediate cancellation of $500 million in federal funding for 22 projects focused on developing mRNA vaccines. These projects included not only ongoing efforts to combat emerging COVID-19 variants, but also research into seasonal influenza and the highly pathogenic H5N1 avian flu. The abrupt withdrawal of support left many researchers and institutions scrambling to reassess their work and future plans. This is not a minor budget tweak or a simple reallocation of resources. It represents a fundamental pivot away from a technology that, just a few years ago, was celebrated as a breakthrough in the fight against infectious diseases. The decision has left laboratories across the country empty, with scientists forced to halt experiments and pack up their research. The policy shift also means the immediate termination of contracts with pharmaceutical giants like Pfizer and Moderna, as well as leading academic institutions such as Emory University. These organizations had been at the forefront of vaccine innovation, and the sudden loss of federal support has cast uncertainty over their ongoing projects and future contributions to public health. Only a select few projects that are already in their final phases will be permitted to continue, a decision made to avoid wasting taxpayer money on research that is nearly complete. For the vast majority, however, the funding cutoff means an abrupt end, with researchers left to wonder about the fate of their work and the potential impact on future medical breakthroughs. Secretary Kennedy has framed this move as a necessary course correction, one that comes after months of careful review and consultation with experts from the National Institutes of Health and the Food and Drug Administration. He emphasized that the decision was not made lightly, but was the result of a comprehensive evaluation of the available evidence and expert opinions. After weighing the data, Kennedy concluded that the risks associated with mRNA technology for respiratory viruses now outweigh the potential benefits, a position that stands in stark contrast to the prevailing scientific consensus, which continues to support mRNA vaccines as safe and effective tools in the fight against infectious diseases. The implications of this decision are immense and far-reaching. It has sparked vocal support from vaccine skeptics and critics of mRNA technology, while simultaneously causing deep concern and even alarm among most public health officials, scientists, and medical professionals who fear the consequences for disease prevention and control. This is more than just a debate about scientific technology. It's a question of national security, pandemic preparedness, and the fundamental role of science in safeguarding the health of Americans. The decision could have ripple effects on how the country responds to future outbreaks and emerging health threats. As the nation grapples with this unprecedented policy shift, understanding the science, the motivations behind the decision, and the arguments on all sides is more important than ever. Only by examining the facts and listening to a range of perspectives can we truly grasp what this means for the future of public health and the safety of our communities. To truly grasp the impact of this decision, we need to look at the science behind it and the context in which it was made. The world of medicine is constantly evolving, and sometimes a single breakthrough can change the course of history. To understand why this matters, we first need to know how mRNA vaccines work and why they represent such a leap forward in medical technology. Imagine your body as a highly efficient factory. In this factory, DNA acts as the master blueprint, containing all the instructions needed for life. mRNA is like a messenger, carrying specific instructions from the DNA to the machinery that builds proteins, which are essential for your body's functions. Traditional vaccines have been used for decades. They work by introducing a weakened or inactivated form of a virus, or sometimes just a piece of it, to train your immune system to recognize and fight the real thing if it ever appears. mRNA vaccines, on the other hand, use a completely different approach. Instead of using the virus itself, they deliver a synthetic strand of mRNA that instructs your cells to produce a harmless piece of the virus, like the spike protein found on the surface of the COVID-19 virus. Once your cells make this protein, your immune system quickly learns to recognize it as foreign and builds up strong defenses. This process happens without ever exposing you to the actual virus, making it a safer and more controlled way to train your immune system. The main advantage of mRNA technology is speed. Scientists can design and produce mRNA vaccines in a matter of weeks, rather than the years it can take to develop traditional vaccines. This rapid response is a game-changer in the fight against fast-moving pandemics. During the COVID-19 pandemic, this speed was absolutely crucial. It allowed healthcare systems to respond quickly, saving millions of lives and helping to bring the world back from the brink of disaster. The safety and effectiveness of mRNA vaccines have been studied and scrutinized more thoroughly than any other vaccine in history. Massive clinical trials and real-world data have shown that these vaccines are both safe and highly effective. Major health organizations around the world, including the CDC and WHO, have reviewed the evidence and agree. The benefits of mRNA vaccines far outweigh any potential risks. That's why the administration's sudden reversal on this issue is so shocking and concerning to much of the medical field. It challenges the consensus built on years of rigorous research and global collaboration. Secretary Kennedy has long been a critic of the vaccine industry, and his rationale for the funding cut reflects his skepticism. He claims the decision followed a careful review of mRNA technology's safety and effectiveness, especially for respiratory viruses. Kennedy points to reported side effects and argues that long-term risks are not fully understood. He believes the potential for adverse events outweighs the benefits, especially for viruses that mutate rapidly. He also criticizes the need for frequent boosters, arguing that mRNA vaccines don't provide lasting immunity. Kennedy wants to redirect resources toward vaccines that offer broader, longer-lasting protection. By canceling these projects, he's signaling the end of prioritizing mRNA for respiratory viruses and pushing for a new direction in vaccine development. In place of mRNA programs, Kennedy's administration is championing alternative vaccine technologies. The main alternative whole virus vaccines, which use weakened or inactivated viruses to train the immune system. Proponents argue this approach could provide broader, more resilient immunity as viruses mutate. Kennedy says, "We're prioritizing safer, broader vaccine strategies, like whole virus vaccines and novel platforms." The administration is also exploring other new platforms, though details remain vague. Critics warn that while whole virus vaccines are proven, they're much slower to produce, a major drawback in a fast-moving pandemic. The public health community's response to Kennedy's decision has been swift and overwhelmingly negative. Across the country, scientists, doctors, and health officials have voiced deep concern, warning that this move could have far-reaching consequences for the nation's ability to respond to future health crises. Experts argue that abandoning mRNA technology is a dangerous gamble, especially with threats like avian flu looming. They point out that mRNA vaccines have revolutionized our ability to respond quickly to emerging diseases, and that turning away from this technology could set back years of progress. mRNA platforms are seen as our most important tool for rapid pandemic response. These platforms allow scientists to design and produce vaccines in record time, often within weeks of identifying a new virus. This speed is critical when facing fast-moving outbreaks. Mike Osterholm, a leading infectious disease expert, called the move the most dangerous decision in public health in my 50 years. He emphasized that the risks of emerging infectious diseases are only growing, and that preparedness is more important than ever. He warns that giving up the speed of mRNA leaves the nation exposed. Without this technology, the country could face devastating delays in developing vaccines during the next pandemic, putting millions of lives at risk. Dr. Paul Offit calls the funding cut short-sighted, especially with pandemic threats on the horizon. He stresses that now is the time to invest in proven solutions, not to retreat from them. The American Medical Association urges the administration to reconsider, citing mRNA's proven life-saving capabilities. They highlight the countless lives saved during the COVID-19 pandemic as evidence of its effectiveness. Experts agree on the need for better vaccines, but say we shouldn't abandon our fastest, most effective tool. They argue that innovation should build on existing successes, not discard them. The pursuit of new technologies should be all of the above, not an either-or. By supporting a range of vaccine approaches, the nation can be better prepared for whatever comes next. Rick Bright, former BARDA director, says it's like removing a key weapon from the nation's arsenal right when it might be needed most. The consensus is clear. The scientific community believes this decision could undermine the nation's ability to protect its people in the face of future pandemics. The core issue in this debate is time. Speed is everything in a pandemic. mRNA technology's biggest advantage is rapid development, which can mean the difference between containment and catastrophe. Traditional vaccines require growing viruses, a process that can take months. mRNA vaccines are designed digitally. Once the genetic sequence is known, work can begin immediately. No need for the physical virus, just the code. This cell-free process is far faster and more scalable. In 2020, Moderna and Pfizer had vaccine candidates ready for trials in under 2 months. Experts warn that relying only on slower platforms means accepting dangerous delays in future pandemics. A delay of even 6 months could be catastrophic, leaving us defenseless. mRNA offers a way to dramatically shorten that vulnerable period. The mRNA story goes beyond infectious diseases. Scientists are exploring mRNA for cancer, genetic disorders, and autoimmune diseases. Personalized cancer vaccines, for example, could train the immune system to target only cancer cells. mRNA therapies could help people with rare genetic diseases by delivering the right protein instructions. Research is ongoing for autoimmune diseases too. Cutting mRNA funding could slow progress in all these areas, not just pandemic preparedness. The August 5th announcement is part of a broader shift under Secretary Kennedy. Since taking office, he's acted on his skepticism of established vaccine science. Early moves included pulling back COVID-19 vaccine recommendations and disbanding the Advisory Committee on Immunization Practices. This centralized decision-making and weakened a key pillar of the nation's vaccine program. The August decision expands the policy from targeting one company to canceling 22 projects across the field. These actions have created uncertainty and concern among public health professionals. It's a clear pattern weakening recommendations, firing experts, and defunding advanced vaccine technology. Defunding mRNA research is a pivotal moment with long-term consequences. We're now relying on slower, traditional vaccines as our main defense. If a new pandemic hits, our rapid response capability is compromised. This reversal could discourage private investment and damage America's reputation as a leader in biomedical innovation. The debate highlights a growing divide over how we interpret scientific evidence and expert consensus. Our future health security may depend on whether Kennedy's alternative strategies deliver before the next crisis. For now, the nation stands at a crossroads, facing an uncertain path ahead.